Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. Out here walking and talking today on the Detroit River again, on the Riverwalk. We're over by the, came back from the Renaissance Center a couple days ago when I was down here, or maybe last week. I saw a woman holding a sign, and I think the sign said GM Management, I took a picture of it today, GM Management requires women to give blowjobs or
perform oral sex.
Perform oral sex. And today when we walked up on her, the back of the sign said something about it tries to basically divide and conquer black workers. I can't remember the language. So she was holding up this sign in front of the GM building. It's one person. So it just kind of, I guess it would catch your attention if it was 20 people, but one person definitely caught my attention, and it kind of made me curious. So I was glad she was still there when we got there so that I could talk to her. I actually pulled out my tablet so I could Google her. Her name is Denise Macon, Denissemacon, and she says, if you Google her, you can find her on the internet. She says she's been doing it for years, but it just kind of has me thinking this morning, and I guess I woke up thinking this morning about, freedom of the press and protest and the connection between those two and the ability to express discontent and to connect with other people who have discontent, and the affirmation that you can experience when you see someone else who stands up, the affirmation that you can experience when someone else goes against the status quo, especially in a situation of repression. So, for example, on the television show The Handmaid's Tale, and in the book The Handmaid's Tale, there's a moment when the main character realizes that she assumes that someone else who has been in a similar situation where they're not allowed to read and write has left a written message, as an act of protest and as an act of encouragement for the next handmaid or the next person who's in that situation. And you never know, I guess when I talked to her, it kind of left me feeling a certain way in terms of, well, what's the point? When I talked to her, there wasn't anything that she said to me that I thought was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. I have to go look this up. This is news to me. She was basically saying, that, the news doesn't want to report a lot of what's going on because they're compromised, because they get ad revenue from big corporations such as GM that in Michigan, Illinois, in this region, because the government gets taxes from the corporation. They don't want to, be involved with investigating them. She said she felt that judges were kind of paid off in a way, so they won't say things, but they're just a part of the system to me. Or whether they're paid off or not, they're paid off in privilege, and they're part of the system of, hey, good morning, of rich white men with property and power who behave in certain ways and who have a certain culture and who look out for one another. So
Any further, Bella? Come on.
look at Miss Bella. She all in the bushes trying to pull other people. There's probably a bone in there, or a kitten, or who knows whatever it is. She fighting hard. So it wasn't anything, revelatory to me. But I guess as I tried to process it, it's sort of like you don't know what effect, your action will have on other people, and in what ways it might stimulate, someone else who has had a similar experience or who's trying to find the courage to speak out and to just, I guess they say speak truth to power. I've never really, researched that, but she said that she felt that being a poor person, the only thing that she could do is what she was doing. Good morning. But you never know how that's going to inspire someone else or stimulate someone else, or what might be created from that energy, from that vibration. So, that's my thoughts on that this morning. In my news feed, and I think I'll get into it a little bit on notes on the news feed, but just reading about and thinking again about journalism and the press and suppression of the press, and the training of journalists and journalistic ethic, so that, you know, when you report something, you know, how many sources do you have? Can you corroborate it? Can you verify it? How did you verify it? How reliable are your sources? And that's, you know, you might have a different standard if you're at the New York Times or the Washington Post than, you know, the National Enquirer. The National Enquirer one tip might be enough for them to report a story. But we don't count, you know, on the National Enquirer for, you know, solid news, which is not to say that that one tip may or may not be true. That one tip may be the tip of the iceberg. So this morning I was reading, for example, that the same Tiger Woods, before the whole, I don't even know why it's a story, but the fact that he was having sex with a bunch of waitresses, or, you know, a bunch of women other than his wife. And one of the women's mothers reported, or, you know, gave a tip to the National Enquirer that, hey, my daughter is kicking it with Tiger Woods. And at the same time, the same corporation that owns the National Enquirer, I think Men's Health, was doing a piece on Tiger Woods at the same time that they were getting the tip. And so that tip did end up becoming, you know, a story. But when the National Enquirer reported it, there weren't the, you know, 17 million other women who were kicking it with Tiger Woods. You know, they just had that one tip from that one woman's mother. But then again, the National Enquirer came up because I heard that there was a woman who came to them, good morning, with a story that she's been kicking it with Trump for years, and she's his mistress. And so I don't know if it's true, but what I read this morning was that she got hired as a correspondent, a columnist, for $150,000 a year. Oh, look at this sand artwork. Did you see this when we came?
No.
The Detroit, is it sand? Look at that. Can you see? Ooh. I know, but is it, I want to go over and touch it. Like, could I crumble it up? Is it temporary art? Is it permanent art? You know, a lot of people work on beaches in temporary art. It's just there for when it's there, and then when it goes away, it goes away. I'm gonna see it. Oh, I can get close enough to touch it. This is the beach. This is the beach on the riverfront.
Touch it on, definitely sand.
It's definitely sand.
There's some here that's
Woo! I love temporary art.
probably had something on this side too.
Yeah, they do beach volleyball over here. And then there's the carousel. This is the part of the park that the part of the Riverwalk that goes into the state park, which doesn't seem like very, very much of a state park, but the whole hookup is so nice and pleasant and beautiful. But so the National Enquirer paid off, or, you know, that's the story. This is all, I don't know. This is just what. And then I also read a story about the National Enquirer trying to acquire a company, a news company in another country. And, you know, so just, you know, the consolidation of the press, the consolidation of information. If one person or 5 people or 20 people are in control of what information we get and how we get that information, and they have an agenda like, hey, my friend is Donald Trump, so I'm not going to, you know, say anything against my friend or say anything that would hurt or embarrass my friend or compromise, you know, my friend or my political view, or, you know, but then, but if all 20 of us are all friends, then it kind of limits what's going on. But if it's 200, it's a little bit harder to get a united front going in terms of what information average people are able to get. What's going on? Oh, I don't remember how we came in. But when we came in, it was so pretty. I'm like, as much times as I've come here, I'm complaining because they're unsetting up for river days. And so I usually come a particular way. So coming this way, I had a whole different view. Can you see it behind me? Like the landscaping and stuff is so pretty. Oh, look, they have the little picnic tables painted. Oh, it's just your poo-poo. It's so cute. This one is, aww. That picnic table was kind of plain. But that's what I got. Just, you know, getting information, sharing information, journalistic ethics. I don't really know what the theme is, but there is a theme in my head. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for clicking, liking, subscribing. I'm Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. And you know what I want you to do today and always? Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Peace.